No, I'm in Iowa,
Iowa. What city?
Charles City. We are probably 2.5 hours from Des Moines, north of Des Moines. We're really like 45 minutes from the Minnesota border.
Oh, nice. Are you getting some of this warmer weather that we're getting? I mean,
55 degrees today.
oh my God, you're warmer than us. Yeah. I mean, it was like 52, and it was the neighbor next door. He's like sitting with the other neighbor on the front porch. I'm like, man, it's not March yet, like. But I mean, like, what? It's the Midwest, right? You get warm one day, and everybody's got their, I'm surprised somebody's not grilling. Wouldn't
Well, and
surprise.
that's what I smelled. My husband was outside and I smelled grilling, but I would have gone running this morning, but it was 20 degrees. So it didn't hit 52 till about noon. So
Yeah, yeah. What's funny is it got chilly though. Like as soon as it got dark, uh, it was nice earlier, but now it is really chilly again. So,
mhm.
but tomorrow's supposed to be 65. So I'm like, oh, let's go.
Nice.
All right, I think we're live in all the places. I think I've hit all the buttons. So hey everybody, happy Wednesday to you. We're here with Jenna. She's up in Iowa. I'm here in Missouri. This is a Midwestern podcast. And we're talking about the glory of a 55-degree day in January in these two places. It's a gift from God. It's awesome. Because we know that probably a week from now, the wind chill will probably be back below zero. No, actually, it's supposed to stay warm, I think, for a little while. I mean, it shouldn't say knock on fake wood here in the studio. But we know that we're going to pay for this, Jenna, probably like in April, the wind chill will go back below zero.
Well, in Iowa, we'll probably get a snowstorm in April. So
Absolutely. Oh, see, as a former teacher, I was always jealous of you guys because our snowstorms are like, you get all our meteorologists in St. Louis will get us all amped up. Like, oh, this big system's out over California. It's going to come over the Rockies and it's going to nail us. And then it'll miss us to the north and it just get you guys, 18 inches in Des Moines or, Sioux City. Yeah, we didn't get it. So we'd
the
have to.
nice thing is when we get those snowstorms in April, they melt like within a day. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got to get up. One thing I do want to see in Iowa, besides Caitlin Clark, I'd love to see her play basketball because she's amazing, is
mhm.
the Field of Dreams baseball field. I got to get up there and see that.
Yeah, that is probably about an hour and a half. We've been there a couple times. I have a little jar of dirt from it.
Really? Do they sell that or did you steal it?
You can give quote unquote a donation, and then there's like these little. It's like the cheesiest little stand, but
That's so
it's the
cool.
Field of Dreams. You got to
I
go. You
know.
got to do it.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'd have to, because I'd be tempted. I'd have to get some dirt. That'd be, yeah, because I'm gonna pour, I'm a pitcher, an old pitcher. I'd have to get something, little piece off the mound or something. Oh, that's
Well,
so
and they
cool.
did that last year. They had, I want to say White Sox and Cubs or something, but they had like with the old school
Yeah,
uniforms and stuff on. They brought them to the Field of Dreams, and I'm from Chicago, so I got to cheer on my Cubs.
I got you.
And with the old school uniforms, I mean, it's just it's. I like that classic. I like the classic baseball, the look and all that, the hot
Yeah.
dogs, all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago. That guy hit the walk off into the corn. I mean, he
yes.
walked it off into the corn. It was like, I mean, it was a movie, but it was real. Yeah, it was that guy. It was perfect. Yeah, even as a Cardinals fan, I'm like, because I think the Cardinals were supposed to play there during COVID and it got canceled, and I was so bummed about that because we're gonna get to play there. But I was like, just another thing that happened. But what can you do? Okay, so we are gonna record Monday's show, so hang with us. We're gonna have a good time. Not distracted because UNI, University of Northern Iowa, against UIC, University of Chicago. Chicago,
Illinois at Chicago.
Illinois. Yeah, I should know this because my daughter's the director of basketball ops there for the women's team. They're battling, and of course, we have alumni from. We got a connection here, so I'm just trying to watch, but it's not going well for my squad. They're getting it handed to them right now. But hey, it's a long game. It's still first quarter. So let's talk about your trip. I'll get the notes up here. And I think we are just about set. Go back to April. Then we'll talk some Dopey and we'll talk all kinds of stuff. All right. Here we go for Monday. So let's see. No holidays this weekend. We got Groundhog Day tomorrow, Friday. That's not a big deal. We're not going to talk about that. Okay. Here we go. 2431. Welcome to episode 2431 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend. And guess what? Your favorite football team did not lose this weekend. I can guarantee you that. No heartbreak. Scotty G, still probably hurting, but nothing tragic happened this past weekend, at least with football, because this was the weekend where it's just interviews, and it's that time where you're like, what's going on as a football fan? But don't worry, next Sunday it is the big game. I don't think we're allowed to actually mention it. We're a podcast. It's Super Bowl Sunday next week, so get ready for your party, plan out those menus, discuss what commercial you think is going to be the hottest, because right now we're in that season where if you watch a little bit of TV, you get those little preview commercials. I mean, are we in a world where we're in a world where we get preview commercials? You'll get a little thing and it'll say, watch for the rest of the commercial. I mean, are we seriously watching for the rest of a commercial? But we are. So get ready. We're going to have a great week preparing for a big 49ers and Chiefs bowl, which I didn't expect, but we're going to get you there with some fun podcasts throughout this week. And today, headed down to Walt Disney World. And to do that, listener Jenna is joining us from just north of us up in Iowa. Jenna, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Enjoying the beautiful 50 degrees on the last day of January.
Oh, it's wonderful. And as this show comes out, we are in February, Valentine's Day coming up here soon. So we're going to make it here in the Midwest, I think. Of course, it'll come to bite us later on, probably in the spring. We always get, it seems like as a teacher, we get spring break, March, sometimes early April, and, Mother Nature would laugh at us. We're always looking forward to spring break and then boom, snow. But we'll take 60s right now if we can.
100%, especially as a runner. I'm loving it.
Exactly right. You're like, yes, as a runner, you look at the 5-day forecast or the 7-day forecast on the news. You're like, I can run outside. And sometimes you say, I can run outside in shorts. You're like, I don't need a hat. I don't need gloves. Yes. And when it's wintertime, all the better. So we are going to have a good time. We're going to talk a little Dopey because you are an experienced marathoner, but you had a first experience with Dopey. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But we're going to dive into a trip that you took with your family here in just a second. But before that, let's kind of just talk about your background as a Disney fan in general. What is your story with the connection to Disney? Did it start as a young child? Was it something later in life? What's your backstory here?
My first memory is 5 years old. We rented a camper with my aunt and uncle, and we stayed at the campground. And I remember getting blisters on my shoulders from being at the water park at the campground too long. So before the brain eating amoeba was an issue, they still let people be in that water park, and it was amazing.
So you got to go to River Country then.
Yes, yes. And I remember it, like I have vivid memories of it, probably because I was in pain from a sunburn, but I have vivid memories. And then I remember fifth grade going when Epcot because I'm born in 1973. So I'm thinking Epcot was probably fairly new because I remember the Figment and the whole like where it was more creative than it is now and engage and interactive. But back then I took the tour of Magic Kingdom. They let kids do the tour where you go into the utilitors, or am I saying that right? Utilidors.
Yeah.
They let all the kids go. So while the parents went off and did their own thing, they sent the kids on these tours, which now I can't even imagine how much magic that would have taken away, but it didn't. It just added to my own. So
Okay, so this is Gen X here, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know. So, because I have never heard this before. And by the way, we're born in the same year. So this is going to be a great show because we can relate to things here. First of all, you're right. They didn't care. They threw us down these probably very dangerous slides. I didn't go to River Country, but we had way dangerous water park, like not water parks, but just water slides, like standalone here in St. Louis that looking back as an adult, I mean, you pay $10 for the whole day, but these things were not safe. Like
no.
our parents would just drop us off and be like, see you at 9 o'clock. This is 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, have fun. Here's $5 for lunch. That was being a Gen X kid. But okay, so I've never heard this. So not only did they allow kids to see behind the scenes at the Magic Kingdom, you would do this without your parents. I mean, I mean, are you serious? Like, I
Yeah,
can't
like
believe
I,
it.
I and I have it's crazy because I have a Polaroid picture of the friend I made during this. So she and I kind of did this. We were the same age. We did this together. I don't know where my parents were. I couldn't tell you.
This
I
is
was a
so
fifth grader,
80s.
just sent to go down and do this. But it's the same tour that I hear they offer now.
Yeah. Kingdom
So
Kingdom basically is what it is. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, so it's like, oh, I saw that as a fifth grader, which I'd love to do it now, just because I'm curious how much more like it is. But
oh, I'm just trying to think if you did that now. I mean, you could, yeah, you couldn't even joke about that on social media. You'd be banned. I mean,
well, and that's what
you'd
I
be
don't think Disney will let me in. If they knew I did this tour as a fifth grader, I don't think they'd let me back into Disney.
coming at a top for just putting this show out at this point. But no, apparently it happened. So we'll see. No, but that sounds fun. So growing up, let me ask you this, because you have a long history with Disney and you were down there and you got to experience some of these nostalgic type things that are, some of them are still here in various forms. Some are gone. What do you look back on though that maybe you missed that you wish you could go back and experience that maybe have gone away in the past?
I remember when I went to college, we went to MGM Studios for during my spring break with my friends, and I remember like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids at MGM, and I walking through the tall grass and stuff. I wish they still had some of those elements. And I remember doing kind of like behind the movie scenes and stuff like that, where you were actually maybe had a chance to watch some of that. Like I that kind of stuff, which was more authentic, like this is Disney as we're doing it in this moment, I thought was really, really cool.
So let me ask you a tough question, because I know we're going to talk about when you went there and you mentioned a moment that with your husband on one of the current experiences you get at the studios. Would you trade something like, because I'm always curious about this, this is like a kind of like a would you rather. Would you trade the current experiences that you get like in Galaxy's Edge and say like a Toy Story Land to go back to have things like you said, like that Honey I Shrunk the kids playground area, the Streets of America, the Lights Motor Action, the animation academy where they had the artists showing their how they make the animation stuff. It was more of like a working studio. Would you make that trade today to give up those experiences that we've gotten over the past decade?
No. And one of probably the biggest reason is because now it's through my kids' eyes, and so to me that there's more of a connection that way, um, to be able to experience, because now they're gonna be, I don't know if they'll be on a podcast, if we'll have them in 20 years or whatever, but they'll then have talks with their friends about the things they experience. The thing I love the most, and you guys have said it before, and I think Walt himself said it before, Disney World, Disneyland, they are not museums. They are actively, constantly moving and flowing. And that's why it never really hurts my feelings when they take things away and add new things, because my experience is always different, and then my kids get to experience different things. So I like that. I like that about Disneyland and Disney World.
That's a great attitude. I mean, but I do look back. I'm a super nostalgic person. Like I listen to many podcasts about retro video games and old shopping malls that have gone away. I'm very much into like the 80s and the 70s and all that, especially around the holidays. So when I hear that stuff, I'm totally with you. But it is a hard trade, right? Because you just said it so well that it's not just our generation that these parks are for, because if we had the, those kind of experiences that we were talking about, the Streets of America, like Mallory would be bored out of her mind, but she can connect to these newer IP and these newer experiences because they are more interactive. They're more fun. I mean, I have to admit that. So that's a great attitude, that we got to experience those things, but and some people say instead of tearing things that you're replacing that we should just be adding. Well, I agree with that in some cases, but you can't always do that. I mean, there's only a finite amount of space, to do things. Good.
Well, and that's I grew up with Great America in the Chicagoland area around here. We have Adventureland, you know, and those parks are dated. And when you go into them, you can tell that they haven't added as much or they financially can't. So that's the difference between like me going to Disney World with my family versus like an Adventureland. Not that you can't have fun at those smaller parks, but you know you're not going to get those immersive experiences like Disney offers now, even versus when I was growing up.
I will say that because when I was in high school, the best bargain you could get was to get a Six Flags season pass because we have one in St. Louis, so about 45 minutes southwest of St. Louis. And we'd get that for like $60 a year. And when you didn't have any money, you would just drive because gas was cheap when I was younger. And I had an MG, so we just drive out there like 5 nights a week and just hang out at Six Flags Ride Rides. But we could use them at any Six Flags. So once or twice a year, we drive up to Chicago, up to Gurney to go to that one. And I'll say, speaking of that, I used to love, they had it was like a space shuttle simulator. It was like a big space shuttle on the outside. Do you
Yes.
remember that? That was like,
Yes.
we didn't have that down in St. Louis. And I love that. And the Viper. The Viper was the jam up there. I love
Yeah. Yes.
it. Your Six Flags was so much better than our Six Flags. I don't know. It was just because it was different, but they had the double decker Screaming Eagle kind of roller coaster thing.
Oh, that old school, like the wooden roller coasters. And
Because ours only had one. You know, you guys had two. Like I was like, oh my god,
Mhm.
greatest thing of all time. Anyway, let's go. Okay, so let's talk about your trip. So you guys went down in April. You went with your husband and so you have was it two sons? Is that right?
No, I had at the time my son was 18 and my daughter was 14.
Okay, so you had two kids, 18 and
Mhm.
14. Good ages. I mean, sounds good. As your son's graduation trip, and he sounds like he's a performer. So I live in this world with Mallory being a cheerleader. You don't get to pick your time. You get to go on vacation. The schedule kind of picks the time you go, right? So how'd you guys
Exactly.
decide on
I
that?
had to I had to go to his literally with my calendar open to his choir director and say, pick a week because
For real.
we need to well, and we had miles that we had to use up, and so I had to use them up by a certain time. So the choir director was able to help me. My son is right now in Rochester, New York, studying opera. So if that gives anyone an indication, he takes his music very seriously. So
Wow.
I wanted to honor that, and so we ended up going that week in April, like the third week in April. So
Yeah, keep warning Ricky that your time is no longer yours once you have a kid. Because Ricky's very much about her own schedules for
good luck with that, Ricky.
the 40 years that she's been alive. I keep telling her like jokes on you, kid. Yeah, because it's gonna happen. That's exactly what it is for us though. Like with our Disney trips, because Paige was always in competitive sports, and now Mallory's, she's a cheerleader in high school for varsity. So of course you get in the summer, you get like they call it in high school sports dead week. There's 1 week in the entire state of Missouri where nobody's allowed to practice. There could be no contact with athletes and coaches. So that's when everybody goes on vacation because as soon as that week's over, every coach demands you have to be at practice. So boom,
Hmm.
that's when everybody goes on vacation. So I guess when we're going on a cruise this summer, dead week. It's a terrible name for it, but that's what they call it. So you guys went down, stayed at French Quarter. So tell me, of all the Walt Disney World resorts, why French Quarter? And you guys went down in April. What a great time to go. But French Quarter, why'd you decide to stay there?
Well, we love Boardwalk, we love access to Epcot, we love access to Hollywood Studios. French Quarter is a nice medium location. It's easy to get to, but it's a smaller resort, especially for the moderates, and it's one bus stop. Plus, you get the boats back and forth to Disney Springs. We've been there before. We like it, but we explored a little bit more. And I got my husband and kids. I like going for walks in the evening, especially with my husband, and we walked over, to the other resorts where we could then, check it out and really just kind of have fun being together and not have to stress out as much about being so centrally located where you feel like, oh, I have to be in a park right now.
Right. And you guys were there. This wasn't a super long trip. It was the 17th to the 21st. So 4-night trip. You guys had 2-day park hopper tickets, I believe. So it wasn't like you were, going to be there for 10 days and going to be in the parks for 8 days and like nonstop going. This seems like it was a pretty chill trip. You're going to do an after hours event on one of the nights as well. So French Quarter, being able to kind of enjoy the Sassagoula River, the views, the just the resort itself, because it's a nice resort. It's got a very laid back feel to it. So you would you recommend that for somebody that's looking for that kind of a feel? Because like the value resorts are, I think they're really great for people that are going to be really on the go and need to be, like we're going to spend a lot of time in the parks. We're going to be really intensive with our activities, where you probably kind of had a little bit of time to, like you say, explore, walk around, and take in the resort.
Well, and for the Dopey Challenge in 2023, I stayed at Pop Century and Coronado Springs. I did a split stay just to check them both out and loved them both. Like they're both great resorts. My husband struggles with some anxiety, so the smaller resorts, the less volume that happens, and I don't know how else to say it. It's not a loud resort. I mean, yes, there's people around you and everything, but the way that the resort is shaped, especially when you back up right there on the river, you really don't have the screaming, the yelling, you don't hear that as much, as much as I had heard it like maybe at a Pop Century or something like that. So it's just a really quiet, nice, calm resort for somebody who maybe is looking for something a little, it's really well themed, but it's maybe just less volume.
100% agree. And if you're really looking to kind of be super quiet, building one is the furthest kind of back corner building, but it's also like on the Sascula River. Great spot if you're looking for quietness. It's great for like honeymooners, stuff like that. It's
Yeah, and it's got that beautiful romantic feel
yeah, it's
to it
jazz
too.
music.
So,
Yeah, especially
yeah,
at night. Like it's night. It's got the wrought iron, like the street lamps and the jazz music playing. It is. I mean,
yes.
speaking of Valentine's Day coming up, we need your Is This Romantics this week. Get them in. Okay, so a little plug there. All right, so tell us about what so you guys got there. You guys got settled in. It looks like you took a boat over to. Oh man, here we go again with the food. Polite Pig. I can smell it. I'm like, I can smell it here in the studio. So good. You guys are starting it off right.
Yeah, this was our first time at Polite Pig, and there was no line. And that's the other nice thing about going in April. We were kind of butting up against springtime surprise races, but no one was there. It was like maybe the weekend right after, so people were already leaving. So no one was in line for Play Pig. We got to really enjoy it. We enjoyed it so much. My son he did DECA before he graduated and was in Orlando that following weekend. He drug everyone back to Polite Pig, part of his DECA crew, because he loved it so much.
It's funny. My daughter did DECA this year for the very first time. We had no idea really what it was because my wife and I are both teachers, and she really really enjoyed DECA this year.
I
So
had no idea until I found out he made it through state in Des Moines and that he had to be in Orlando on these dates. And I'm like, what just happened?
yep, she just had her competition yesterday as we're recording. She didn't make it to state. She came in third, but we're super proud of her. She's only a sophomore. She's gonna do it again next year, but she won her practice one earlier in the year, so we're
Good
super
for
proud of her. I
her.
know, because we had no idea what it was, but she's
Mm-mm.
yeah, she got into DECA. We're like, we didn't know what that was. I knew it had something to do with business because I had friends in high school that were in it, but that's all I knew. But
Yep.
yeah, it seems like and the whole thing was this year the Nationals were in Anaheim. So
I know.
when I found that out, I was like, man, no, because I just saw that our high school tweeted it, like the night before. Good luck, Francis Hall Viking DECA team members tomorrow. We'll see you in Anaheim. I was like, Mallory, she was already laying in her room, like studying or something. I'm like, Mallory, finals are in Anaheim for DECA. And she's like, I know. I'm like, you need to win then. Disneyland. She's like, stop. I was like, just focus. Yeah, so I probably put too much pressure on her. Anyway, so back to the trip. All right. So you guys went to Polite Pig now. Tell us about kind of how the rest of the time unfolded, because you didn't have a lot of days, but you made the most of them. So just give us the summary of that.
Yeah, we did 2 days in the parks, and we're pretty go, go, go. We have park hoppers. We're not ones to just kind of sit around and not do something. Wednesday ended up being an after hours. And so the way that we do after hours is we chill during the day and we make that another park day. So and I will tell you, I don't know if it was the first after hours for Hollywood Studios, but we'd never done after hours Hollywood Studios. We've done after hours in Magic Kingdom before. And we've actually done I don't forget what those were called, early entry hours, or where you
Mhm.
could get like up to 3 hours in the morning. So we've kind of dabbled a little bit in the after hours experiences, but it was phenomenal. It was a walk on everything. I think we rode Rise twice, just walking on it. We rode Millennium Falcon, and I found out I'm a really bad pilot.
Same. I don't think there's I blame it on the controls. Like I can
It's
drive a
it's
car
harder than
fine.
you think. It
Yeah,
really
seriously.
is. And I had the one that went back and forth, and I kept going back and forth, and my son was the other one, and he's like, "Mom, you gotta
Yeah.
stop
I mean, the thing
doing
was banging
that."
around. It's like bam, bam, bam. Like what? I don't know. I'm doing my part. I think it's broke. That's what I kept saying.
That's yeah, and I don't even know if I crashed it or not. I was so concentrated on, like, what I was supposed to be. It wasn't as much fun as I had hoped, but it's a great ride. So, we went to the, Olga's, and my husband got the drink that numbs your lips, with the foam on it. So we were asking the cast member about it, and he goes, "Oh, here, let me get you some for the kids to try." So he brought us over like a spoonful of just the foam so that the kids could like try with the numbing stuff. That was just another form of entertainment for all of us to now have numb lips. So that was all fun.
Probably cast member probably is also a dentist. Passing out Novocaine to everybody. And you also said in your notes that you told your husband it is imperative that when you are on Rise, if they try to interrogate you about I forget what they ask you, the location of the secret rebel base. That's not what they ask you. They ask you something. They put you in the cell. God, it's been that long since I've been on it. I've been on it a million times. But they put you in the holding area to interrogate you. Don't smile.
Yes.
Was he able to hold his water?
No, like literally as we're going into this room, I turn to him and I'm like, "Okay, you can't smile." And he then could not smile.
I mean, it happens. That would be me too. I smile all the time. Life's good. So, would you recommend that after hours event at the studios though? Because I mean, it's a smaller park. I mean, you think it was worth the value?
Yeah, like, my husband's favorite ride is, Tower of Terror, so we rode that probably 3 or 4 times. Got to just walk Slinky was the biggest wait. I think we maybe waited 25, 30 minutes for Slinky Dog, but that was at the end of the night, and we just wanted to ride it. But yeah, no, if nothing else, to us, we just love being in an empty park.
Yeah.
Just even walking around and enjoying it. So sometimes it's about the ride, sometimes you get these snacks and stuff, but for us, it's about the park.
I'll tell you what, too. The studios at night is just gorgeous. I mean, I mean, the Magic Kingdom at night is pretty amazing, but the neon at the studios, it's just something about it, especially Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset too, but Hollywood. And I'm partial to that Pluto sign with the tail that wags. I just think it
Well,
looks
and
so cool.
we're big fans to really use the photographers, and they're out, even during the after hour events. And so we have some great family pictures that we get taken just because there's no one else around and the photographers are looking bored, and they're more than happy to spend 15, 20 minutes with you just taking pictures.
That's a good point. Let me ask you this too, because many times we have guests on that have younger children. You had 18-year-old, 14-year-old. So you have basically, you have an adult and, a independent age teenager at 14. How is it touring with them? Because obviously they're Disney veterans at this point and they probably know their way around very well. What level of independence do they take when it comes to planning the trip and during the trip? What is it like? Kind of is the vacations have evolved over the years to where you're at now?
We first took them so my mom and dad live in Florida. That's kind of what brought us to them initially, or brought us to bring our kids initially. And so they were like maybe 2 and 6 when we first brought them on a June day, hot, probably 120 surface level heat.
Been there.
Uh, and I think we rode Dumbo and that's it. Like it was miserable. My kids were sweating. We were sweating. We had no planning. We just were like, hey, we have a day. Let's do Disney. my parents wanted to take us. So fast passes were a thing. We didn't do any fast passes. We did no planning. And so we both turned to each other and we said, we're not coming back till after the kids are 18. Well, fast forward visiting our parents again. It's a rainy day. We decide on a random January, let's just go. Nobody was at Magic Kingdom. My husband and I split up. My husband went with my son. I went with my daughter. I met every princess there possibly could be at Magic Kingdom. We rode all the princess rides. My husband rode all the roller coasters. We had huge smiles on our face because we realized divide and conquer. And so that's how we started with them being a little bit younger, which one was both kids into. And then my husband would go with my son, I'd go with my daughter, and we would just, do it. Now, like for example, we went in January 2024 for a day. My kids, they went off one direction, they slept in. 'Cause that's
Why fight it? Because
right.
let them. It's their vacation too.
Yep, and my husband and I, we got on a bus and we got ourselves to the parks and we did our own touring and we did our own thing. And then we met up with the kids in Epcot and we had dinner together. We rode Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they went back to Magic Kingdom because it was open till 11. And my husband and I, we went to Boardwalk and we walked around and he had a couple margaritas and we chilled out. So it was fun. We engaged with each other. We still have fun together. But when we were at dinner, we were laughing hard here's the stories, here's what we did, here's what you did. So at this age, we've been there enough. I can trust them to get through the transportation piece. They fortunately know how to use magic bands to spend money. So
I know.
it's
I
a
always say
user
text me
friendly.
first. I know because you're right. I mean, I let them use the magic bands, but I'm like, just text me first before you go buying stuff.
Right,
I mean, unless
right.
it's like a soda or a hot dog. I mean, if you're buying food, I don't care. But you want to get some.
Exactly, exactly. So it really it has ebbed and flowed and I joke with my kids, I don't care who you marry, I want a Disney wedding.
See, and as a dad, I'm like, I really don't want a Disney wedding. I know what those suckers cost. Like, can't we just go to the VFW?
Right. Right.
How about the backyard? We got a pretty decent sized backyard. We can fit at least 50 people back there. We can do shift.
Yes. So it is, and each time I go back with my aged kids, it's more fun. Like the after hours thing, I probably wouldn't do it when they were 2 and 6. That's a lot of hours. Like you're there till 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning. My kids wouldn't have been able to do that. But now it's like I asked my kids flat out, do you want an after park or do you want an after hours or do you want an extra park day? And they're like, oh, after hours for sure.
Yeah,
So
that's made for like teenagers. I mean, that's totally
yes,
their schedule because they just sleep in, chill the pool. Okay, let's go out late at night. Yeah,
yes.
you're not battling the sun, you're not battling the humidity. Nighttime, and you got snacks. I mean, that is very total, dude. I mean, they should just call it like the teenager jam. I mean, but I mean, adult.
That's exactly what it
I mean,
is.
it's eliminating a lot of the things that are the negatives of think about a theme park at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You've taken away a lot of the negatives with an after hours event. So that's
Yeah.
great. I didn't consider it that way. That's a good way to think about it. Okay. Let me ask you a couple other things because we're going to shift gears here because we got about 10, 15 minutes left. And I want to get this in. So you are an avid runner. You run many marathons, spent some time in Chicago. So you have run the Chicago Marathon, which I did one time. And telling you what, it's my best marathon experience I've ever had. Now I've run 9 Walt Disney World marathons and loved every one of the Walt Disney World ones, but Chicago was just a different beast. It was just amazing because there were honestly people 26.2 miles everywhere along the course. And you got to go through all these little villages, the Greek town, and you got to go through the Mexican part of town. And it was just all these little it was so cool. You got to see all the different ethnic parts of the city. You got to see all the tall buildings, Lake Michigan. I swear, I was like, I must be running 50 miles because I've seen everything. And it rained and it was hot. And it was, I mean, I swear I felt like I ran forever. It almost killed me, but I got there and I got my Chicago dog at the end. So it was wonderful. But you say that, you ran the Dopey in 23 and when you run other races, you say it's a different experience to run at Disney. So give us some of those thoughts, because folks maybe are considering, because again, we're getting into the season of the spring where you're having to commit to marathon weekend for 20. I can't believe we're saying 25 already, but we are. For 25, if you want to go down in January, signups will be in April. We're in February. So it's going to be soon. You're going to have to start mentally deciding, do I want to go for Dopey? Do I maybe want to try my first marathon, which I say everybody should try it. It changes your life. If you run a full marathon one time, you can really accomplish anything. Everybody can do it. It's just a mindset thing. But just give us your thoughts, because you've said some things in the pre-show that I was very impressed with. So just, you're an avid runner, so give us some thoughts on that.
So when I've done 7 other marathons, I actually qualified for Boston. So I've run Boston. So if that kind of gives people a
Yeah.
perspective on my skill set, when I train for marathons, first and foremost, I take it very seriously, regardless whether it's Disney or otherwise. The distance is still 26.2. So that's real. So like for me, I take my training very seriously. I can be a competitive person mindset. I learned to run through cross country and track. So my running is very something that's very serious to me. When I trained for Dopey, it was a totally different form of training because I was training to be on my feet more and on more days. So when I go out to do just a marathon, it's one day, go out, do the marathon. You're running probably like for if you're me, I ran throughout the marathon, didn't stop except for water breaks or whatever. That's the way I do marathons. Dopey, I did the walk run method. I learned how to slow my pace, how to walk, make sure. And it wasn't just walking to walk it because I was tired. I needed to stop for characters.
Oh yeah,
So,
because it's Disney. It's not the Boston. It's not Chicago. It's
right.
just a different vibe to the whole experience.
Right. And even the people around me, I had more conversations, rich, fun conversations with people during Dopey. When I'm running Chicago or Des Moines or whatever else, I'm not chit chatting. Like, I'm not.
Even though I was chatting in Chicago, because I was a couple times like, where am I? Like,
Right.
there's one part of town I went through it. I'm like, is this real? Like, and you probably know. Like, I was like, what's going on? But that was crazy.
Right. Like when you're getting ready for like a big, state marathon or whatever, there's a lot of people that are there that are very serious. You're not seeing people dressed to Mike's credit as a hot dog. You're
That's true. That's true. I was just, yeah, in Chicago, I wore regular clothes.
right. But Dopey is well, and a marathon, and it really any distance. If you're gonna run any distance, the best gift you can give yourself is find a good plan that you can stick with, that you follow through with it. Because when you get to the start line, the worry isn't that you can finish. If you followed your plan, you'll finish. If you didn't follow a plan, your worry will be how sore will I be when this is done because I really didn't prepare for this as well as I should have. So
Well,
if you put the miles in, you'll be fine.
so what if you want to speak to somebody right now that is considering, maybe it doesn't even have to be the Dopey, because I really encourage our listeners to even sign up just to get out there for the 5K. Marathon weekend it's an extraordinary weekend for somebody to get involved with Run Disney. Even it is the weekend where you'll see the most competitive runners, because it is the biggest Run Disney weekend, and it is the one that kind of draws out the like I said, the more competitive runners, because you have the longest distance. It's the only opportunity that people get to go 26.2 miles in the whole Run Disney series. Even you can't do it at Disneyland either. So you are going to see that. However, even if you want to try your first race, but you really want to see the awesome environment of Run Disney, all 4 weekends at Walt Disney World throughout the year are great. I say get the experience of January, of marathon weekend, because it's just unparalleled with the excitement and the amount of people, and the just how it just builds up as people arrive, and you see people getting their shirts on, and people walking around with the merch and stuff. So what would you tell somebody that maybe is thinking about it in these 60 days before registration, because you've gone through the process? How would you encourage them?
Train for the registration process as much as you train for the run.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh my God, I'm getting hives. That's scarier than 26.2 miles is rundisney.com. You are in the queue. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Oh, not tonight again. Thanks.
Well, I would say no distance is minor, whether it's the 5K to the marathon. I will say, and kind of to your point, Mike, running a marathon teaches you mental resilience like no other run ever will. So that's something to consider. But if you are somebody who right now is like my goal this year is just to do, I got to do a 3.1. I say just, I'm not, it's never just. I actually am a cross country coach, so I respect all distances,
Mhm.
all people, all levels. That's a huge goal. 3.1 miles is a huge and great, awesome goal. I love the 10K. I love the half marathon. They're awesome races. Disney is a whole different experience. And I will say, to me, Disney brought fun back into my running. Whereas, I can go out and I can run a race here, in Iowa or in Minnesota or Illinois and get the mileage in, get the times I want, really focus on the distance and all that. Disney is a whole nother level of, these people are my people. They get me because they're Disney people, but they also like running or they have been running and they're as excited to be there. And you will get in those corrals and you'll start chit chatting and having fun. And even so, like, where I was at with it, when I would go past the water stations, just saying thank you to the volunteers, that filled me up and gave me extra energy because they're so thankful to be there. And then to hear someone say thankful, it's just all the way around such a positive feeling. And I'm not going to say you're not going to be tired or it's not going to be hard at times. Running around Blizzard Beach parking lot,
Oh,
not fun. Not fun.
but even with ESPN back in the day, we wanted to do that because that was rough. But yeah, it was
Ugh.
worse. That's good.
But you get through it and you figure it out, and when by the time then you get to the next stage of your run, then that resilience is building up again. And as long, I would always, when I'm really, and I'm a social worker, so excuse my nerdiness on this, but they say psychologically when you smile, especially when you run, you send endorphins off in your brain. So when I start breaking down, I smile at somebody, I get a smile back, I'm back in it. My brain
Mhm.
is feeling energized again and I'm back in it. So anybody that's thinking about running, that's the universe whispering to you that it's time to sign up for a race and get out there.
That's so well said. That's so well said. And you have the experience. Like I said, you've qualified for Boston. You are a legit runner. You're a coach. I hated running. I just did it to try to lose some weight after Mallory was born. And I will say I didn't run my first marathon until I was in my 40s. So it's not too late. Don't think, oh my gosh, my best days are behind me because, like I said, I didn't even start my running journey until I was into my 40s. So give it a shot and start with a 5K because think about it. After you get down there, just run a 5K, you get the medal, you get the shirt, you can wear it into the parks, you get your picture taken in front of the castle. You're a participant. Everybody's going to be congratulating you throughout the day, throughout the rest of your vacation. You're going to have so much fun because you are now like a part of the club and everybody's going to be encouraging you along the way. And we got a great running squad that'll pick you up throughout the course and, just push yourself and you'll be so proud of yourself. You're going to get there. We always push each other. And even if you don't, you got to the starting line. Like we have folks that had injuries. And you know what? There's one of our lizards that I'm friends with and sailed with us on the Be Our Guest podcast cruise. And she was battling through a really rough injury. Was going for her first marathon this past marathon weekend. And man, she made it really far into the marathon, further than she had ever gone in her life, but didn't quite make it to that finish line. But I'll tell you what, every time that I run, I think that was such an amazing accomplishment that she got as far as she did. And the way she handled that situation was something that is so strong. And I've taken so many lessons from because she handled it in a way that I hope that I could handle things that come to me in my life because she really set an example, not only to her children, but to the rest of our team. She's taken what some people could consider a defeat and turned it into a victory. And I've talked
Mhm.
to my kids about that. I've talked to Mallory about that I've shown that picture and I've said, look at this. Like in life, you're going to have cards dealt to you in a certain way. You're not always going to win the day, and you're going to prepare for things, but sometimes you're going to have injuries. Sometimes things are going to be out of your control, but you can still give things an attempt where maybe you don't even, some people will never go to that line because they're not prepared. They're not, the cards are stacked against you. She was injured, but she didn't need to go to that line, but she said, I'm going to try it. And she battled. I mean, I couldn't have done that. And she got so far into the full marathon. And I'm so proud of that. I don't want to give her name because I want to embarrass her today. She knows who she is. But I mean, I am just extremely proud to call that person a friend and a teammate. And you just see stuff like that on the course. That's what I'm saying. Get out there and get some of that. This stuff it's not free for the taking. You got to sign up. But man, once you're in, this stuff really gets, it energizes your spirit, and even to watch, just to go to the finish line of a marathon and watch. I mean, it just rejuvenates your soul, I think. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I think it just really, it shows
100%. We get to run. I mean, that's how I feel. There's going to be days where I'm not going to have this ability, and I'm going to be able to look back at my medals. I'm going to be looking back at, all these things I got to do that, and the other piece of it is, if you struggle with anxiety, you struggle with stress in your life, whatever, getting out and being outside and just going for a run or a walk run or whatever you're able to do, it releases something in you to help you manage that stress a little bit better, or those things that are going on in your life. And I say that from a mother of two teenage kids. So, it's sometimes, and I will say this too. I raise my kids as a mother who's a runner. That is my selfish time, and I own it, and I'm proud of that. And I think a lot of us think, well, if I start running, I got to take time away from other things. You make time for the things that are important to you. And I think this is one of those things that if it's important to you, whether it's your health, your anxiety, your mental health, your life, whatever, this is an awesome resource for us to be able to use.
I agree. That's well said. My running happens at 4:45 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in my family gets up that early, so I'm not taking it away from anybody. They're all now the treadmill's right under Mallory's bedroom, but she has a Echo Dot that she turns up super loud. It sounds like the ocean. So I don't think she hears me. It's super loud. But anyway, Jenna, great. This has been fun. It's been great talking about your trip, and you have so many great words for folks that may be considering going out there and giving it a shot. And I hope they do. I just really appreciate it. What a great way to start the week. So have a great spring, and congratulations to your son on his operatic pursuits out in New York. That's going to be amazing. And just hope we get to do this again sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Don't forget, our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Check them out this week. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure, whether it's out to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney. We do it all. Check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our patrons. You guys are basically Club BOGP. You guys make it happen. And everybody who's a patron gets a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. So come on over. Just $5 a month. You get all those bonus shows. Check it out. Patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on the social media at beourguestmike, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. I'm in all the places. And this weekend, no live show on Sunday night because we're not dumb. We're not competing against the Super Bowl. Come on. Seriously. It's not happening. We're going to have a party. I'm not a big fan of either one of the teams, but we're going to be eating good food and having fun. So you probably will be too. We'll be back in 2 weeks with your calls and all that good stuff. So join us for that then. All right, we're going to get out of here. So for Jenna up in Iowa, I'm Mike here in Missouri. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Holy smokes. You guys are killing us. And my daughter even tweeted at halftime because we always text her. At halftime, she's like, terrible game. Because you can only text at halftime.
You can blame me for that. You can say, sorry, I was on with somebody with alumni from UNI.
So I
So
will after the game. It's 35-16. Oh my God. Getting just blown out. Oh Lord. It's 37-16. Woof. I will have to watch this one very intently. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jenna. Thanks for taking the time. If you need anything, just give me a yell. Hopefully we can be at the parks at the same time sometime.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.